Thank you, Senator Lee. Thank you very much. Senator Klobuchar.
Very good. Thank you very much to our nominees. Congratulations. Just wanted to, as I was listening to my friend Senator Lee, wanted to remind us of what Justice Amy Coney Barrett said during her confirmation hearing to the Seventh Circuit when questioned about her affiliation with a conservative organization that opposed women's reproductive rights, marriage equality. She said, "I don't feel like affiliation with a group commits me to all of that group's policy positions." And I just want to clarify again, you worked there briefly as a fellow and were not there during the time of these statements or were not involved in these. Is that correct?
That's correct, Senator. My limitation was just that those 2 years as part of that fellowship.
I also note that that group was originally, I'm just remembering this, started in part by a Republican congressman, Congressman Frenzel, who was interested in working with the rest of the world, and they've done some good work. Okay, let's go back to you here. You received this award, the Attorney General's Award for Exceptional Service, just recently for dismantling a massive international sex trafficking criminal organization involving cases coming out of Thailand and Belgium, coercing hundreds of women to engage in commercial sex acts. In total, your work helped put over 36 sex traffickers away and got millions of dollars in restitution to the victims. Your efforts in this case are considered a model prosecution and used to train other law enforcement partners in how to pursue international sex trafficking and money laundering investigations. Can you talk about how you are using the lessons and techniques you developed in this case to train other law enforcement partners and protect women in future investigations?
Thank you, Senator. That was a very significant case where hundreds of women from Thailand were trafficked into the United States for countless commercial sex acts, and millions of dollars were being sent back to Thailand. So in order to combat the international conspiracy, first we had to build our team, bring together the right partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement so they had the right tools and ability to tackle that, along with a really great paralegal who assisted us on the case. We also then had to support the victims throughout. We had to connect them with services so they could participate in the investigation and testify at trial, and to build the case around them by corroborating their trafficking experiences. And then finally, we had to use all of the great tools provided by Congress, not only the Trafficking Victims Protection Act and the Justice for Victims of Trafficking, but to look at the whole story of what was happening. That included charging visa fraud, the means by which they brought the Thai women to the United States, and going after the profit motive and charging money laundering. So it's all of those tools that allowed us to build the strongest case. Over 30 of the defendants pled. 5 went to trial over 6 weeks and were found guilty on all counts. And we bring those lessons to other law enforcement partners.
Thank you. As I noted earlier, the committee received letters of support for your nomination from a dozen law enforcement officers from 5 different federal law enforcement agencies. The largest police union in Minnesota wrote a very positive letter about your work. You received support from 19 former lawyers at the U.S. Attorney's Office, including President Trump's U.S. Attorney, appointed U.S. Attorney Erica McDonald, praising your deep respect for the Constitution and dedication to ensuring justice. You work closely with law enforcement, and it is notable that you're joined today not only by your family, but by a special agent, Tanya Price, I see her back there, whom you worked with. Can you describe the approach you took as an AUSA to work with your law enforcement partners?
Thank you, Senator. I first had to start just learning the law, and you can't be an effective AUSA unless you have a strong relationship with the case agent and with the partners. And that's a relationship based on trust. It doesn't matter what your political views on or any personal views. We have a shared mission of protecting our children, protecting human trafficking victims, and protecting our Native communities from violence. And so when you build that shared mission and work together and build a relationship of trust, you can do amazing work together to protect the community.
Okay, and just last, I see your parents there. They're behaving very well. You grew up in St. Cloud and spent a good part of your life in not outside of the metro area of Minnesota. You have relatives all over our state. I mentioned the Iron Range. You prosecuted cases throughout our state, from the Red Lake Reservation to Mankato. Could you talk about how that experience of growing up in a place outside of a major metropolitan area and taking on cases in rural areas will help you as a judge?
Thank you, Senator. I'm a proud Minnesotan, and I've been fortunate over these past 14 years as a federal prosecutor to work with law enforcement and to work with victims from across the state. And as I've done that, I found that our similarities and our commonalities are much greater than any differences that we have. And when we work together on a common mission, we can make sure that our communities are safe, we can protect the victims, and hold the perpetrators accountable. And as you know, Senator, we have several courthouses in greater Minnesota, and I would be committed to making sure that there's access to justice and people can actually see the process when we have hearings and trials in those courtrooms.
Thank you very much.
Senator Kennedy.